the link right here. I'm gonna go ahead and just pop it in this box so you could just share it with the timeline.
Okay. Let me make sure I get the right thing going. Gosh, I'm always doing something extra.
How you say your name?
Ajaya.
Ajaya.
I didn't put enough information in this. I already had a little bit of a conversation with a couple of white nationalists that were in my mentions.
Word.
That was interesting.
They're an interesting bunch to say the least.
One was actually surprisingly like we was on the same page, but then it was like two. No, the other one was not. Said we're all racist, stupid, and then the other one was more like what I consider the racist national white nationals. Like they
Right.
ain't really white nationals. They just like the sound of it.
Right.
So I don't know. It's interesting.
Ha. Who's that? I'm just looking at the back end over here, and I've never done this before.
I just started going live. Like I don't never really like to be. I don't never go live, so
All right,
it
so
was my first
live
time.
joint.
There we go. We still in here.
Here's a live control room. Oh, that's where I'm at. Okay, cool. This is that. This is that. All right. So we could get into the discussion. So this stemmed from a tweet I had earlier,
Mm-hmm.
and the tweet said, "When I look at white nationalists, I see a people looking out for their own interest. In black people seeking equality, I see people that have no self-interest."
Okay.
And then your rebuttal
What did
was,
I say?
well, I'm gonna pull it up right now. I gotta scroll back a little bit.
I'm the queen of quote tweets.
Let's see. I mentioned this on fire,
Yeah.
so I
My,
gotta scroll
might
back a
be a
little
little
bit.
shorter than yours. I can probably just go to my profile and see what I said. I've been tweeting that much.
All right, let me see. I'm getting close. You said white nationalists, right? You said white nationalists seem to do things at the expense of others. They love this system because it allows them to exploit others at a higher rate. When they want to install a just system, then they can get some respect. Until then, fuck them too. It's a lot.
Which I think my interactions basically perfectly explain that because one person was like, "No, we do want our own system. We like," she said, "We I don't know if she or he, but basically they want their own little country to do their own little thing."
Right.
Like, cool. I know some people that feel the same way. Like, cool. But then the other guy that came in started talking about like affirmative action and how that stuff is racist, reverse racism, and there's no end to it. And that part of it, I'm like, see, that's the one I can't really get with y'all on that.
Ah,
So I think the problem was who is actually a white nationalist and what exactly do they really stand for? Because some of these people claiming white nationalists don't hold that separate country, get out the system thing. It's basically nigga shut up and deal with it. We all even. Like,
well, we have to first define, like you said, I think we first have to define what is a white nationalist, right?
right?
And let me just try and clarify what that is from my experience and interactions with them. I believe these white nationalists are not the power structure.
Oh no.
Therefore, when you say until they want to install a just system, it's fuck them too. So if they don't have the power of the system, how are they going to install a system for us? And if they're white nationalists, their interest only lies for their own people. Therefore, they
Right.
should have no interest in installing a system to benefit us.
As long as they're saying we too can then go install our own system elsewhere.
That's what they want. They want us to develop our own system.
Right. That's what now that I agree with. However, that's not but then I got the other interaction where they claim if that's the definition we're going for, I agree. Like if we say split it however different countries, y'all get y'all system, we'll build from there. Cool. But then within a underneath that debate, if we're trying to then somehow talk about the current system that people are under now, that's where the confusion comes in.
What do you mean?
So like the guy on Twitter that chimed in was talking about like affirmative action and that how they're not the power structure and that their working class and middle class are basically being discriminated against in favor of blacks, Hispanics, or whatever, as far as, getting the quotas and the jobs and getting
Yeah,
into school and things like that.
yeah.
I see that, but then my thing is how short is our memory though?
What do you mean? How short is our memory?
Are we going to say that everything from this generation forward is even? You know what I mean? Like, so
Well,
we're saying
that's
that
the
we're all on the same plane, we're all on the same level field because we're not. That's the thing.
well, that's the thing. We don't want to do that. There shouldn't be a comparison, right? You have to completely X them out of the equation because they're Xing us out of the equation. So what their interests are, even the lifestyle that they seek to lead is completely different from what the lifestyle you and I would lead as quote unquote hoteps, right?
Right.
As quote unquote conscious, as quote unquote earthly people. You know what I mean? Like I don't understand. I don't know what you classify yourself as, but I would say us in being in the conscious community.
Okay.
The lifestyle that we lead, from the way that we dress and the way that we eat, is different from how a white nationalist would.
Mm-hmm.
So if we had an economy where both of us were together, it probably wouldn't work too well because
Right.
they would want a certain crop of food and we'd want a certain different crop of food, right? So when you say equal or even playing ground, there will never be that,
Correct.
right?
Right.
Also, when we talk about this system, going back to my previous point, they have no power in the system, which is why they're bitching so much.
Right. They have no power, but they still are better off statistically.
I wouldn't say that.
Well,
Statistically, a black woman is more educated than a single white man today,
Okay.
based upon the rates.
But how does is that translating into actually lifting the race out of poverty?
Well, it's
That's what.
not. It's not because we have to look at what these quote unquote educated black people are doing with their dollars, right? When
Mm-hmm.
we look at something called black flight between the 1960s and the
Mm-hmm.
2000s, where black people get up and leave, do these educated black people go back into the community, mentor, set up programs, and invest? No, they
No.
don't. What they do is they black flight out, right?
Mm-hmm.
They get their white cushy desk jobs. They write blogs, articles in March, and ask white people to fix the problem, right? So then the white nationalist is like, wait, hold on. You're educated. You're making an income. Why are you bitching about this? Go do it yourself, because we are fully capable of doing it ourselves. When we say melanin magic, black girl magic, and black don't crack, and we are the first people, if we are all of this, there should be no excuses for lifting ourselves out of the situation that we're in.
Okay. And I completely and totally agree with that. But
Mm-hmm.
then here what comes in the back, the factor of when are we allowed, when have we been allowed to develop something without it
Well,
being intentionally destroyed
let me
on
show, let me
any
show
other
you.
level?
Let me show you where you messed up with that question.
Yeah, go
The
ahead.
word allowed.
I mean, it was
That's
there
the
and then it was,
mentality. That's the
well, okay,
mentality we got to break. It's not allowed. It's not allowed. It's what are we going to demand? What are the walls we are going to break down and break through? It's not allowed. If these are our previous enslavers, if they don't like us, why would they ever allow us to do anything?
okay, so then when, if we can build and outside forces can come in and destroy, like violently destroy, I feel like that needs to be something if a white nationalist is going to say that they're not racist and they're not, that has to be a part. Either don't say anything at all about anything having to do with black people and how they do stuff, or acknowledge that it's getting fucked up. You know what I mean? Like acknowledge that
No.
there is something. Now, I myself personally, I mean, if you talk about all of our leaders that have been killed and things of that nature, we haven't, it's been intentionally, our progression has been intentionally retarded by killing off by killing off our thinkers in the 60s and 70s. And then we have to grow a new crop and try to infiltrate
Well,
our own people's minds because we're in a system that turns us against ourselves. You know what I mean? Like, so.
well, what we have is when we look at our previous leaders, we didn't have any leaders, right? If you look at MLK and Black Panther Party, these are people that were funded and cajoled and controlled by by communists. It's basically, Russia was controlling us, Cuba, you know,
Well,
all all these people were the ones that were pulling our strings. When we had Malcolm X was the hotep of that time, right? And just like now, how hoteps are shunned for our ideology is the same way Malcolm X was shunned and killed by his own people because he was hotep, because he was saying we don't need to ask them for anything. When
correct.
Malcolm X went and had the meeting with white nationalists and asked them, hey, what do you want? It was black people that got him out of here. When it was Garvey that went and sat with the KKK and so on and so forth, it was the black bourgeoisie that got him out of here, got him extradited, got him thrown in jail.
Now,
And
this is true. That
so that's not white people that was doing that. It was the DeRays and the Sean Kings of the world setting ourselves up.
because what system have they bought into? Not ours. They bought into the system that's at hand.
No, they bought into greed.
which is this capitalism, which is the system that is at hand.
No,
It feeds
this
capital
isn't capitalism. This is greed for fame and notoriety. This happens
and
in
money.
any facet. But money is at the end of the stream, right? It's at the end. They're given money, right?
Right.
So when MLK has received donations from the Communist Party, he already has the money. Like, money's not the issue. This is a college educated man. It's not money's the issue. What's the issue is, how can I get myself on TV? How do I get this fame and notoriety? That it's just like wanting to be a celebrity, right?
Okay.
It's not the money. So we have to take, it's not capitalism, it's greed and want of power.
Which to me is the bottom line of capitalism.
No, it's not, has nothing to do with capitalism. Capitalism is just a means of exchange. Whether you have capitalism, socialism, or communism, these are just economic systems, means of exchange of scarce goods and resources. That's all it is.
Right. But in the capitalist system, you basically get as much capital out of everything that you can, regardless of the damage it does to people.
But there's not a single communist nation, there's not a single socialist nation where you see the success of a capitalist nation. When you go look at
What is, I guess,
name a communist nation right now
what
that
is
can.
your definition of success, and how many of these nations have been allowed to prosper without, let's say Zimbabwe, were they allowed to prosper without embargoes and things of that nature? That's what I'm saying. They're not, the current system is not allowing.
It's not the system. It's not the system. Would you live in North Korea?
No.
Okay. Would you live in Russia?
No. I didn't want to live. I'm living right here, and I've created
because you like capitalism.
No, I don't. I think
if you didn't have capitalism, you would live under communism or socialism, and this whole YouTube thing that you have going on wouldn't exist. They would just cut that off like they do in communist nations. Like right now, like this stream would not exist in a communist nation. I'll say, no, we can't talk about this in our nation.
I can agree with the social freedoms here, yes.
And that comes with capitalism. That comes with capitalism. Because communism would say no. There's no YouTube in communist nations.
I don't think that's indicative of communism in itself, and I'm not a communist at all. However, we can create a functioning system here that is neither communist or capitalist or whatever, right here where we are from, where we have been. But I'm just saying, all of the extra obstacles that are thrown in the way.
Well, life comes with obstacles.
All right. So I'm just saying, can the acknowledgement that
who needs to acknowledge
there are extra obstacles, or don't say anything about it? That's what I'm saying. Either don't say white nationalists, because we're talking about white nationalists and having these conversations. Either don't say anything about how we're dealing with whatever obstacles are being put in front of us, or admit that they're there, or don't say anything.
You want white nationalists to admit that they're there.
Or don't say anything. Like, don't jump in the conversation attempting to police and control it.
Okay, so
or don't say, you know what I mean?
So let's say they admitted to it. They said, okay, there's obstacles in your way. Now what?
Shut up. That's what I'm saying. Don't say anything.
And then what? And then what? How is that going to help Black people?
That's why I said don't say anything. Like, why?
But if they admitted it, they said, look, Black woman.
That's the only thing they need to say in the conversation. Other than that, get out of the conversation. That's what I'm saying. Why are they even inserting themselves in the conversation?
If they admit it, if being in the conversation, they admit it. They say, look, y'all got obstacles. It's not as easy for a Black person, right? If they admit it, then what? What are Black people going to do then? Is that going to miraculously save us? No, it's not.
No, at all. But so neither is them jumping in the conversation being distractions. That's what I'm saying. Go, if that's your thing is you want, and I'm not jumping on white nationalist pages saying anything. The only thing I said, they jumped in my inbox and wanted to have a conversation. I'm not going over there policing what they want to do, but
Right.
they feel the need and the right, and they feel attacked in their middle class and their whatever to say whatever we're trying to do is wrong.
And I feel like this is a male female difference, right? Because a man, if the white nationalists come in my mentions and I deal with them on a daily basis, like you can either feed into it or you could
Right.
not feed into it. And I think
Yeah.
a woman is more likely to emotionally feed into it. And that's what they want. A lot of these people are internet trolls. And
Yeah.
what they want to do is they want to distract and they want to knock you off your horse.
And that's
And I
what I'm
think
saying.
that black people are too busy allowing that to happen.
Okay,
Whereas me,
I
as a
agree.
strong black male, if you come in my mentions with some fuckery, I'm either going to scroll past it, I'm going to mute you, or block you. And you won't even exist anymore. The
Yeah.
problem is black people are like, oh my God, I need you to acknowledge my plight or be quiet. Whereas I'm like, you know what? You don't even have to exist in my reality.
Oh, I'm very much the same way, but I also like to point out the flaws in the thinking just in case someone else is paying attention. You know what I mean? Like,
But you don't have to, though.
I don't have to know.
It doesn't do
But
anything for us.
it does in the fact that for
As a
people,
conscious,
but
as a
for
conscious black community, as a
for
hold on a
our
second,
people that feed into that though, there's our people
hold on one
that
second,
feed
hold on
into
one second,
what they
hold on,
say.
hold on one second. As a conscious black people that have studied the system of white supremacy and racism since the day we were born, we know this system inside and out. We all know it. We all know the obstacles. We all know the faults.
Mm-hmm.
How long are we going to continue to talk about it?
Oh,
And
I'm not a
argue,
person who is
and
talking.
argue with white nationalists.
I am building, but at the same time, if someone comes at me with information that is flawed, and I see people who look like me feeding into that type of thinking. So if I don't address the flaw in that thinking, then we have people saying that
But you address the flaw not in the white nationalist thinking, in my thinking. This debate we're having here stems from your response to my tweet. So
because
you
I didn't
oppose
know
my view.
I didn't because my view of white nationalism was not the own country, we want our own system thing. It was the coming in and saying black people are not disadvantaged, da 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 da, and here's a plethora of reasons why we are actually being oppressed now in so many words. That was what that's the view of white nationalism I had until that exchange where one jumped in and said, hey, actually we just want another country, we don't want to exploit anybody, we don't want any of that.
That's correct. That's
However, for ones that don't seem to have that ideology, that's what I was talking about. Because he said, then another guy said, anybody who identifies as white nationalist is a white nationalist. Like there isn't a underlying, this is what we stand for.
right.
You know what I mean? Like, so then you got somebody else identifying as a white nationalist saying, well, affirmative action is bad and blah, 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 and this and that, and all, you know,
Yeah.
all this other stuff.
Absolutely.
And then you have black people who are feeding into it without the mindset of we need our own system. You know what I mean? They're feeding into it as, well, it's equal in this system and we can do the same things and we have, and not identifying the root of our problems. You know what I mean? Like, so they're buying, we have our people buying into whatever is being said about we're not being blocked by any way. They're buying into that, which doesn't help us get to the root of our problem if you're buying into somebody else, someone outside coming in and telling you. So
All right,
me, myself personally, I don't do it, but I do point it out so that people don't just, because we know people follow blindly, like they do. They see it, put it in their face, and then they believe it. until somebody like flicks them and be like, no, look over here, and actually come with a conclusion and think about it a little bit. That's
So
all I was trying to do.
let's go back to my tweet.
Okay.
I said, when I look at white nationalists, I see a people looking out for their own interests. Is that not true?
Yes.
Okay.
Very true.
It's true.
It is true.
So you said your response was when white nationalists seem to do things at the expense of others, right?
Yeah.
What example do you have of that?
Okay. Well, that's if now because you have to go where I was when I made this thing. That's if they're not talking about actually getting out of the system.
I didn't say talk. I said do. What do they do? You said, this is what you said. White nationalists seem to do things at the expense of others. What do they do at the expense of others?
Well, if you're going to say that, if you're going to say the anti, let's see, let's take a simple one. The basically all the social programs that are supposed to correct the imbalance, right? So they're actively against those, actively trying to get things repealed or whatever.
But they can't.
Huh?
But they can't.
Within.
They can't.
Nobody is controlling anything within the system.
They can't because the white liberals got that on lockdown.
Exactly.
Okay, so they're not doing anything in that aspect.
Okay. I mean, here's the thing about it. Most of your average, they can't really do anything to block.
Correct.
Anyone. They can't do any, they don't have any more power. Mm-hmm. But they've had a head start. That's all I'm saying, is they've had a head start, and they are in a system that doesn't completely retard them from being able to build their own. Like someone who went through kindergarten to 12 as a Black child in the hood, whatever, worse education, how they grew up, it just puts them further behind the 8 ball.
So
then
how does Tyler Perry become Tyler Perry? He's a person that came from poverty. How does Thomas Sowell become Thomas Sowell? How is Ben Carson?
But we're talking about a select few.
A family who has nothing. Mother couldn't read. Ben Carson's mother could not read.
Right.
How did you go from that to becoming Ben Carson?
And
there was no head start. There was no head start. He had to grind.
And I'm the same way. I'm an example of
Oprah.
Figuring it out. I'm an example of becoming educated and be doing all of that, but I could have just as well not been that. That's what I'm saying. And it's just, if we don't acknowledge that going through the system for us is more detrimental to being able to get our minds back. That's what I'm talking about.
No, yes, that goes against,
because it doesn't impose self-hate on them because it was a system built by them.
Are you familiar with the laws of attraction?
Yes, but where are we learning these? That's what I'm saying. We're not.
Hold on. You're familiar with the law of attraction?
Yes.
So the very statement that you said goes against the law of attraction. Natural law. This is conscious community 101.
We'll go point it out because I'm not following.
What you're saying is that we need to acknowledge that the system is harder for us.
And right? And therefore get out of it. That's what I'm saying. We keep staying in
where and get out of the system and go where?
I actually am a part of a different system.
So what system are you going to? What system are you in?
I'm an American National. It's KevlinAlliance.com. We have a book. We have laws. We have our infrastructure in place.
When you need to go and buy soap, what currency do you use?
Right now we're using the dollar.
So you don't have a system.
No, because that's just a medium of exchange. With enough people, we can use whatever medium exchange that we need. But until we realize that we are the capital and that we don't need to use anything of theirs, we have to use what's there for the meantime.
Are you one of those people that believe capitalism is inherently racist?
Not racist, but greedy.
You realize that black people created capitalism, right?
I didn't. That's why I said I didn't say racist. I said greedy.
But you do realize we created the system of capitalism,
Okay, we
right?
created everything. Hell,
Hannibal had his own coin.
okay.
Mansa Musa had his own coin.
It doesn't. A medium of exchange is not the
Listen,
is not the problem.
listen what I'm saying. Listen what I'm saying. This system that we're trying to get out of is the same exact system we created.
Okay, and I don't agree with
Why would we
everything. I don't.
leave? Why would we leave a system to create another system when the system's already here? The system's great. The system in the United States works remarkable.
Because of the goal of the United States.
No, for the individual. For the individual.
Not if you're going to be behind the eight ball just because of the color of your skin.
Why
Where
won't
where are these people? Where is the average little boy
why
that
won't you leave?
the parent is not conscious? Where is he going to get this information? That's what I'm saying.
Why won't you leave?
You don't have to actually leave to leave. You just have to put
No,
yourself
I'm
in your
asking you why you won't leave. If the
leave.
system here in the United States is so
I
good,
have.
no, leave permanently. Why'd you come back?
The United States is just a corporation. I have left the corporation. I'm not talking about, I'm here for the land.
You're physically here. You're using the US dollar, right? You're using the
That
US
has,
YouTube, using US electronics, using the US electricity, right? You're on
until
our
we
power
get,
grid.
until we develop the infrastructure to get our own, but we trying to pull people out of a mental
The thing is,
leap.
you're using the United States system to build your system because there's no other system on earth that will allow you to do that.
I mean, you can get land and put it in a trust in any system.
I'm not talking about the specifics. What I'm saying is you will not leave the landmass of North America.
Because that's not the U.S. corporation. That has nothing
We're
to
not
do with
talking
it.
about contracts. We're not corporations. None of that more stuff. What I'm talking about is the physical land that you stand on. The
And that's
continent.
completely separate from the system.
No, listen what I'm saying. You will not leave the United States of America. You live here in the United States of America. You will not leave.
No, I don't live in a corporation.
Where do you live? What state do you live in?
I live in the Republic of Indiana. I do not live.
You live in Indiana, the state of in the United States of America.
No, I live in the Republic. There, that's exactly it. That's what I am.
Landmass? What landmass?
The land is called the Republic of Indiana. That is the land. I'm talking about the land.
How many? There's
have to leave.
There's 7 continents on Earth.
Right. I said I live in the Republic of Indiana.
Europe, right? So you're in the United States. You're on the North American continent. Is that correct?
I am on the North American continent. Yes.
On the landmass that some refer to as the United States, right?
Some.
Okay. Now, why won't you leave that alleged landmass?
Because that is where this is where I'm indigenous and aboriginal to. Why would I leave my home?
Okay. The reason why you won't leave is because you like it. You like your home. You like it here.
It is my home. Why do I need to leave? Because a foreign entity has come and put a system that I was born into, instead of removing myself from the system and having my own culture and my own identity and my own thing right here in this land where I was born.
What system is this that you're referring to?
The capitalist, the U.S. corporation system, the debt system, all of those.
What's wrong with this system?
What's wrong with them?
What's wrong with the system?
Look around.
I don't see anything wrong with the system.
Well, then I don't consider poverty and starvation and health and all these things being for sale. That's a system that's broken. When death and disease makes money, so we cultivate death and disease. That's a flaw in the system.
I don't I don't see that as a flaw in the system. I see that as a flaw in the people.
Because they are raised by the system and they don't even know they're in it. That's what I'm saying. That's the problem is they don't even know they're being educated to stay in something that hurts them.
Okay, good. Now, when you have an African family come here, they don't get involved in the nonsense of the system. They get involved in the things that they can profit from, which allows the African, the single Nigerian male, to out earn the white male in America by $40,000 average income. Average yearly income for Nigerian Americans, 92,000, single Nigerian male, college educated. For a white male, it's 45,000.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 54,000 for a white male. So an African is able to leave his landmass, come to this landmass and outpace the white male. But somehow you say the system's broken.
Because you're looking at he was educated elsewhere to be able to come and look at the system to see where he could benefit from when our people are not educated elsewhere. They're educated to be retarded. They're educated to be dumb.
Absolutely.
So
by who?
that
By who?
the current system that is in place until we actually remove ourselves, remove our children from the schools, remove our everything to something else. That's what I'm saying. Until
we have to educate our own.
Remove them from the system. But who is going, that's what I'm saying. If we're continuously being made retarded, who are these people that are going to remove them from the system? That's what I'm saying. Like if they keep on automatically enrolling into this system,
yeah,
then you like that is the problem. And I'm saying until we actually sit down and say that there is a problem being in the system and trying to make it work, that we're going to continue to see successes. We're going to continue to see here and there and more people be successful. But in general, the people who are disadvantaged will stay disadvantaged in this system because they're not going to have the mothers, the fathers, they're not going to have the family, the support to educate them enough for them to pull themselves out.
I think what the problem here is we're saying that the entire system screwed up. And I don't think the entire system screwed up. I think there's good and bad in everything, right? And there's good in this system, and there's bad in this system. I think the system of capitalism is great. I think the system of education is screwed up, right? So what I think is we have to educate our own, but there's nothing wrong with capitalism. Now, the thing is, when you say who's going to pull Black people out of the system, who's going to wake them up, the onus is on us. The onus is on us, the conscious community, right?
Correct.
Okay. And what I find is, as a member of that community, we spend more time arguing with each other than we do the Black liberal.
Oh.
We spend more time arguing with white folks than we do with the people we need to actually pull out of this system.
Probably.
Right? So and that's what I'm saying. Like my goal is to unite us. Like you might look at the system one way and I might look at it another, and that's great. We're always just naturally going to do that, right? But just because you're a Moore and you look at this thing as a corporation and I'm whatever and I look at it differently, doesn't mean we don't have the same goal. So what we have to do is we have to say, look, there's things we disagree on, but what do we agree on? We agree that our people are sick mentally and physically. So we have to detox them mentally and physically and also spiritually, right? We got to do that. But we can't waste our resources on each other and the white nationalists. That's why I go so hard saying things like, I don't care what these white nationalists think. I don't care what they say.
I am of the same.
What they do.
I'm of the same. Like I usually you get 2 or 3 responses because I like to
They get no
see where
response.
the mind is. I like to be aware
They get
of.
no response. They get no response. We are kings and queens. In order for someone to speak to a king or queen, they have to make an appointment when they show up in court. You just don't show up in the
This is
presence
true.
of a king and a queen unannounced. You have to be invited, right? Or put in a request.
Yeah,
So when a white nationalist enters my mentions, I view that in the same way. Who authorized you to even step in my court?
I think I like to use it as an educational opportunity for those who have bought into the we are one, there is no, we don't need to separate, blah, 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 blah. I like to use it to point out, like, see, listen, I was over here having a conversation about us, and they felt the need to come in and distract and own, and this is a repeated pattern. You know what I mean? Like, look at this repeated pattern, y'all. Like, so stop with the we need them and we need this and we got to work together. Like, stop with that.
Right.
So that's what I like to use it for. Like,
right.
I like to point that out. Like, listen, like, again, they think they are the authority on us.
But
like,
that contradicts your tweet when you say when they want to install a just system, then they can get some respect.
Well,
they'll never install a just system for us.
Well, I mean, see, that's the thing about where Kebelon and where we come from is we're not race-based particularly, we're nationality-based. Doesn't really have a color connected to it because of how we stand lawfully as far as the rights of indigenous people. There's not really a skin color connected to it. So very well, the white nationalists could use our handbook to set up a country of their own and say, this is what we're standing on, because it has nothing to do. It's basically a book that says that we're a free people and you don't have to contract with anyone that you don't want to. You can govern yourself, blah, 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 blah. That's all that's in our handbook. So the KKK could use the handbook to say, these are our laws, this is what we stand on, and build exactly what they want to build. The white nationalists could do the same thing. So when I say a just system, I meant more of a just ideology that we could all then build on and not at each other's expense. You know what I mean? Like, we could all build on.
Your nationalism does not operate based upon race or skin color?
No.
So a white person could be in your system?
They could utilize the laws and everything. Yes, they could be a part. They could be a part of Kebelon Alliance. My personal, now underneath Kebelon, underneath the umbrella of protection, I have my personal community that I'm building with my personal trust that I select.
I'm talking about the African bloodline.
Right. What do you mean? No, I'm just saying underneath the umbrella where I say I'm American national, anybody of anything can be labeled an American national.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about us as a people.
Right.
Are we talking about African people, or are we talking about some sort of nationality that includes all races? Whose interest are we working for? Are we working for the interest of this nation? Are we working for the interest of the African DNA?
Here's the thing. To put everyone under, or for everyone to agree to these certain set of laws in our handbook, you then work for whatever you want to work for. You understand?
I'm talking about Ajaya.
Oh, me?
You.
I am personally working for the copper colored people of America. I don't care if wherever you say you, but for me, that is the only thing in my mind when I'm building what I'm building.
Black people, right?
That's what they've been labeled as here lately.
Right.
They go by many names.
Right. But just so you know, we using general
terms that people know. Yes.
Yeah. Right. So we're talking about Black people. Okay. So when we're talking about the African genotype, the African DNA, that is the people that we're including in this nation.
Okay.
Right? Okay. When we're talking about those people and we're fighting for their interests, it has nothing to do with white people.
No.
Right?
No.
Okay. And so what I'm saying is remove them from the situation completely. Completely. They don't
Yes.
even
They don't even exist.
either they assist or they don't exist.
Correct. Now, if you're also trying to educate though your people out of their sleepiness,
right?
And they've bought into white supremacy more than white nationalists. You know what I mean? Like white nationalists, they don't even see white supremacy how the system portrays it or whatever, or how it's portrayed in media, blah, 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 blah. If they're really about separating, blah, they don't care. They don't care about black people at all, which is fine. But I forgot where I was going with that.
I think the white nationalists' biggest gripe isn't with us. It's with the small hats.
The who?
The small hats.
The small hats, okay.
The Khazars.
Yeah.
The Ashkenazi. You know what I'm talking about?
That is everybody's problem.
Okay.
That is everybody's problem.
So when you see Hotep Jesus aligning himself with the white nationalists, it is because I and the white nationalists understand that we are not each other's enemy.
Correct.
The white nationalist understands that, first of all, he came here and he conquered this land of America, fair and square, right?
Right.
Now, let's also take a look at history and understand that he didn't conquer a weak people.
No,
he
not at all.
A strong people. And he conquered the strong people because the different tribes that were here were fighting with each other. And what they said was, look, white man, there's some folks over here I ain't really messing with. You know, we could team up, jump them, and we could split the resources.
Yeah.
So we killed ourselves using the white man. Once the white man saw, oh, you have no other brothers in alliance, then he could wipe that dude out, right? Yeah. So we killed ourselves. So the white man came here and he got his system, right?
Yes.
Put it in place based upon shit we taught him.
Correct.
Now, in 1876 and in 1913, the system was hijacked by the small hats.
Yeah.
Same thing happened in World War II Germany. Same thing happened in Eastern Europe, Poland, Russia.
Yeah.
The small hats, the pogroms, right?
Yeah.
So the problem white nationalists have is not with black people. They've already conquered black people.
Sure.
The problem is with the small hats. And it's the small hats that actually used us as slave labor.
Mm-hmm.
They controlled the slave economy, right? And been playing the white man and the black man against each other.
The whole time.
The whole time. So what I've recognized is the white man ain't my enemy. You see that?
The white
nationalists. Now, we're going to take it somewhere else now. When you look at the Chinese population, the Indian population, the Pakistani population, all these Hispanic population, all these people stay together.
Right.
Now, as soon as a black person says black power, it's a problem. And when a white person says white power, it's a problem. What I'm saying is, if a white person stands up and says white power, we should have no gripes with that. We should say, oh, look, they're fighting for the interests of their people.
Yeah.
That's good. That's exactly what the Arab does. What I'm saying is, when they do that, do not get distracted by that. Circle back and worry about your own black power.
Right. Agreed.
The problem is,
but
we next to them.
We have to address our mentality, and a lot of people's mentality still includes either they want to be kumbaya with white people or they're the complete opposite. You know what I mean? Like that's the two spectrums we have, that they want to hold hands and be and try to do this MLK, the system is great, we're going to fix it together.
Right.
Or they're
Is
the kind of
anybody?
militant other side that really kind of does want to do it at the expense of white people. You know what I mean? Like they really just want to flip the power structure. They don't
Right.
actually want to have it even to where everybody can do their own thing and whatever you build is what you deal with. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like, and so I think our most detrimental thing is the people who are brainwashed by the kumbaya, as if someone should look out for you the same way.
So how does Hotep Jesus and Ajaya and her movement and my movement, how do we come together, formulate plans, formulate programs to reprogram our people? That
Like that
that
is
we cannot go on opposing each other.
no. That's why I mean, for my personal plan is I am fundraising for my homeschool, and I'm developing a homeschool curriculum for up to age 7, so that the average woman, group of women, families, however you need to organize it, you know what I mean, whether it's 4 single mothers or 3 families, whatever, organize it
Yeah.
to then be able to implement a curriculum made for us by us that will actually see our little boys and girls flourish, rather than trying to keep sticking them in a system that is broken, the education system, that then is going to feed out adults that we have to like either just throw by the wayside or literally go through a full mind flip. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. I
erasing
mean,
the mind.
yeah, I get that. And that's exactly what we need to do, right? And I would love to support that. I would love to plug, that into what we do here at Hotep,
Mm-hmm.
right? I would love to plug that in and say, hey guys, donate to this. I'll donate myself. I have no problem with that. What I'm saying is, on a public platform like Twitter,
Okay.
we cannot oppose each other. If I tweet something that you disagree with,
Right.
we have to bring that discussion private,
I agree. I can see that. I can
right?
definitely. I'm definitely
We have to keep the battle against the people that are not thinking right.
correct. I can agree with you on that.
If you see me say something about what I believe in, or I see you say something about the corporation and the Moorish and indigenous people, I don't agree with it, but I would never oppose you on the public platform, because at the end of the day, I know you're woke, quote unquote. You know what the big goal is.
Mm-hmm.
So just because you see the Moorish route or the indigenous route, and I see the capitalist route, at the end of the day, we gonna meet at the same spot.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. We gotta put down the weapons against each other in the conscious community.
I
We
feel.
gotta we gotta look at our similarities, discuss our similarities, put these programs together, and detox the fuck out of our people.
Man, a lot.
And then the other thing is, Hotep is male heavy, right? We don't have any women, right? Maybe
Mm.
one, two. I think we have to unite the sexes. We have to say, the black male, I know you don't like that term, copper colored people, the copper male has to say, look, the copper woman has problems, I'ma help. And the copper woman has to say, the copper male has problems, I'm gonna help.
Right.
We can't say my problems are worse than yours and your problems are worse
Oh,
than mine,
oh
because
my God,
those
the
things are
oppression Olympics.
right. Those are subjective. You can't even measure whose problems are worse. There's no scale that you can take your problems on and put it on and say it's worse. That's subjective. We'll never be able to get anywhere like that. We have to just get the message across. What's the goal? The goal is stop depending on the system. That's it.
Yep.
So let's just push that message.
I'm
and
with you.
hit it hard. You know what I mean?
I'm with you. I definitely will take that from it. As far as I just be on Twitter in my own world. I don't even consider Twitter like a real place. You know what I mean? Like I just be
Why you a firecracker?
man.
You a firecracker. I know. Trust me. I know I know people. You a firecracker. When you see something, you like, rah, you just gonna jump out at it,
Jump
and
out
that's
of it.
cool. And that's cool. I just want to make sure we redirect that energy
Correct.
in the right direction.
I'm working on that.
I
I've been trying to
do
do
it too.
less on my personal page and going more to my business page and doing
Yeah,
the forward thinking stuff over
right.
there. And that's what I've been working on. Just
But
fake.
I'm guilty of it too, though. You know what I mean? I see it in myself, which is why I could catch it in other people.
Yeah.
So I've learned to say when I see a Hebrew on a timeline, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna let him live. That's his ideology. I see a Moor on a timeline. I'm gonna let him live. That's his ideology. You know. And when a Moor attacks me and says, "Why are you calling black people black?" I don't respond because I'm not having that conversation
Conversation. Yeah,
arbitrarily.
exactly.
You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? And I think that's what it's about
It is.
because I'm guilty of it too.
Yep. Definitely. I feel you. I'm glad we had this conversation. It's what
Yeah,
building is about. And I think that's what we don't do when we do kind of butt heads or have difference of opinion. It just turns into an all out like F you. Like, you know what I mean? There's no progression made once we have the debate or once we have the conversation. It's at the same place that we started. And I think this conversation actually built somewhere. Like we got somewhere.
yeah, yeah. That's the point. That's why I wanted to have this conversation. I didn't want to have this conversation to say, "Oh, I'm right and you're wrong."
Right.
I wanna find common ground because at the end of the day, this shit's bigger than me and you. You know, like you said, it's kids
Man.
dying out here. It's people starving out here. It's about our people. So
Yeah.
we gotta put our petty differences aside and say, what's and going back to what I said before, my goal isn't really just for copper colored people.
Well, no, because really, as long as there's an imbalance and someone's not getting what they need,
Conflict.
there's gonna be conflict. It doesn't matter. Like, so if your goal is to eliminate conflict, then it's to allow everybody to prosper.
Yes.
So
Yes. And that's why I work with white nationalists, because I'm saying, well, these people over here yelling about something. Let
I'm
me
almost done.
listen. Let me listen, and we're gonna bounce after this. Let me just listen to what they want so I can see how it fits into this whole dynamic. I think when we
Right.
don't listen and have the conversations with the white nationalists, like how me and you doing it, we'll never
Yeah.
get nowhere.
True. True. But yeah, definitely. I'm all about it. Followed you back. We're good.
We're good.
We're good.
All right, let's pump this out for the people, man.
Man, I know we gotta get them together.
We're gonna get them, yo.
We got
Hey,
we coming for them. All right.
all right,
Any other time we need to do this again, let me know. I'm
let's
here.
do it. I'm here.
All right.